guys, welcome back to hashtag Actually I Can. I'm Katie Ripp, and today's episode is actually all about change. It's why I'm going to shake things up a little bit, what's going to be different, and what's actually staying the same on the podcast. If you've been here a while, and thank you for that, you know this podcast has always been about doing things your way. But somewhere along the line, I started to feel like I wasn't doing that myself. So we're making a little bit of a shift, one that feels way more aligned for me. And honestly, I think you're going to love it too. Hey there, welcome to hashtag Actually I Can. This is the podcast where us female entrepreneurs are going to ditch the hustle culture, build value-based aligned businesses, and finally charge what we're worth. I'm Katie Ripp, a serial entrepreneur, business mentor, rule breaker, and your go-to guide for building a profitable business on your own terms. Around here, we do things differently. No hustle for hustle's sake, no playing small, and definitely no more following antiquated business rules that, clearly were not made with midlife women in mind. Each week, I'm here to ask the hard questions, share the advice that's actually worked for me, and bring on a guest or two who decided to say, fuck it, actually I can do this my way. Expect bite-sized, high-impact episodes ranging from about 25 to 45 minutes, packed with real strategies, mindset shifts, and rule-breaking business insights. If you are tired of business feeling like an endless to-do list, and you're ready to make more money without burning out and feeling guilty, you are absolutely in the right place. Let's go. Okay, let's talk about why this change is happening in the first place. When I first started this podcast in July of 2024, I had a big, beautiful, messy vision. It was about breaking free and doing life differently and figuring things out as we go. And while that's still very much a part of me and a part of this, I did realize something, and that's this podcast was never meant to be an interview show. I found myself forcing guest episodes just to keep up with some unspoken rule that I needed to figure out a new person every week with this amazing story. And while I did that, it just wasn't me. On top of that, I was trying to talk about everything: business, mindset, life, loss, money, death, and a little bit of whatever popped into my head at the time. And while I love all of those things, it started to feel really scattered and misaligned, like I wasn't serving anyone. I want to serve the badass female entrepreneur that's trying to build a business that actually fits her life. And this just felt a little bit all over the place. And here's the thing. Well, it's cute to hear, well, you never know what you're going to expect in your podcast. It also felt kind of icky and misaligned when I heard it. Like I was just throwing content out there. No one knew what to expect. And instead of being intentional about creating something, it wasn't actually helping anyone move forward. And that's not really how I want to show up for you. One of the biggest lessons I've learned through business, through life, through burning myself all the way the fuck out is when I feel a shift happening, I listen. I used to ignore that feeling. I used to ignore that little voice. I just really pushed through and keep hammering at whatever wasn't working, telling myself I just needed to try harder or be more disciplined or get my shit together. And that's how I ended up drinking a bottle of wine every night and eating pizza at 11 o'clock. I was totally running on fumes because I refused to slow down and actually listen. And when I burn out, I don't just get a little tired and like need a break. No, when I burn out, I burn all the way the fuck out. There is no amount of oxygen on earth that can reignite that flame when it's gone. And if you've been there, you absolutely know what I'm talking about. This isn't just exhausted. It's like a full body shutdown, physically, mentally, emotionally. You're just done. So now when I feel that shift, when something in my gut says, hey, this doesn't feel like it's working anymore for us, I do pay attention. And I trust myself enough to pivot before I run myself into the ground. And honestly, I hope by making this change, it gives you permission to do the same, whether it's your business or somewhere in your personal life or something that's been tugging at you for a while. I want you to know that pivoting is not failure, or changing direction isn't quitting. It's really actually honoring the part of you that knows when something no longer fits. And that brings me to something else, the power of deciding. So a lot of people see making a hard decision or drawing a line in the sand and saying, I'm done with this is actually a sign of burnout. And yes, sometimes it totally is, but it can also be a superpower. And we can be two things at once. The word decide in Latin terms literally means to cut off, to remove the other option and say, this is the path I'm taking. And when you do that, you create clarity and direction and energy that you just can't have when you're waffling back and forth trying to keep your options open. Somewhere along the way, I saw some meme that said 99% is chaos, 100% is bliss. And that has always stuck with me, that you can be almost there everywhere, but unless you go all in, you just won't feel that bliss. This is what the fail fast concept is all about. It's not about being reckless. There's room for recklessness. It's actually about recognizing when something isn't working, making the decision and moving on instead of dragging something out for months or years just because you're afraid of quitting or you've been told by your parents that you're not a quitter. How many of you have a story that you stayed in a bad relationship too long or kept doing a habit that wasn't serving you for too long, or 500,000 other things that we do as we get to midlife that you're like, oh shit, if I would have just maybe listened to my gut about 10 years ago, I'd be a lot further on than I am right now. But think about all the time and energy we waste trying to make something work that just doesn't, or that just isn't working. Imagine if instead of forcing it, we just said, this isn't it, I'm moving on, and use that energy for something that actually serves us. And that's what this shift is for me. I'm cutting off the things that aren't aligned so I can pour my energy into what is. And I really do want you to feel empowered to do the same. And before I go any further, I just want to take a minute to say thank you to each and every guest who has been on this podcast so far. The first season was not a bust, and this shift in no way devalues the connections or the conversations or the incredible insights that were shared. Every single person who joined me brought something meaningful to the table, and I am so grateful for those experiences. Those episodes still stand as a part of this journey, and honestly, they were exactly what we needed at that time. This change isn't about undoing the past, it's about refining the future. So if you were a guest, if you tuned in, if you shared an episode with a friend, thank you. You were part of something that helped me get here, and I do not take that lightly. Okay, so what's changing? First, we're focusing in. This podcast is now all about business mentoring for female entrepreneurs. And while we're still talking about big, sometimes taboo topics like money, time management, and boundaries, it'll be through the lens of being a business owner. Now, if you don't own a business, does that mean you can't take anything from these episodes? Of course not. We can be two things at once. We can be in the gray area. This has been difficult for me, but I am learning. This isn't about either or. This is about and. You can totally apply this stuff to any area of your life. But the examples, the stories, the strategies, they're going to be centered around women building businesses because that's where I know I can serve at the highest level. Second, I'm bringing back the solo episodes because I have a lot to say. I also love to hear myself talk, and I want to get straight to the advice, the strategies, and the mindset shifts that actually help. And third, I'm scaling back guest episodes to 1 per month, maybe 2, maybe once every 6 weeks or 8 weeks. But trust me, these guests are going to be handpicked badasses who have built successes on their own terms, just like in season 1. No fluff, no surface level conversations, still just real deep dive stories from women who decided to say, fuck it. Actually, I can do this my way. Oh, and one more thing. I'm making sure this podcast directly supports your business journey. That means every episode is going to be tied to something you can take action on, whether it's a freebie or a coaching opportunity or a resource or a playlist or other newsletters or podcasts that I love. Anything that helps you get to where you want to go faster and more efficiently. Coming up, I've got some fire episodes planned. My 15-year-old son would die if he heard me say that. But deep dives into marketing yourself without feeling gross, how to confidently raise your prices, and why traditional business advice is failing women entrepreneurs. If you're here for this shift, the best way to stay in the loop is, of course, to subscribe to the podcast and join my email list. Because let's be real, I love me some emails. You can sign up at katierip.com to get my Love Monday and weekend warm-up emails. But I'm also going to share my Boundaries Blueprint freebie to help you start setting boundaries today. You can go over to katierip.com/boundaries, and that will sign you up for the emails, but you're also going to get a download for 5 scripts to set boundaries. And finally, if today's episode resonated with you, let's take this conversation further. I'm currently accepting one-on-one clients. So if you're ready to ditch the overwhelm and build a business that actually works for you, head over to katierip.com and we can book a free discovery call and chat. Thank you as always for being here. Thank you for being a part of this shift, and I will talk at you next week.
Well, that is a wrap on today's episode, but the conversation doesn't have to end here. If this episode resonated with you at all, come hang out with us inside Actually We Can. This is my private community for midlife women entrepreneurs who are just done with the hustle and ready to build businesses that actually work for them. Inside, you'll find support and strategy and a whole lot of real talk from women who get it. You can join us at katieripp.com/community. We can also stay connected on socials. You can follow me on Instagram at KatieRipp for behind the scenes, extra insights, and plenty of business wisdom. But most importantly, make sure you follow the podcast so you never miss an episode. If you loved today's topic, please leave me a review and share it with another badass woman who needs to hear this. As always, thank you for being here. Now go do your thing, and I'll see you next time.